Hey everybody, Tony D and Little Joan here on a very snowy night here in South Jersey, and a hot take on the latest from Antifa. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Please spread the link around wherever you're watching, whether it's on YouTube, BitChute, or Rumble. But let people know. All right, what's going on with the media blackout? According to Gateway Pundit, no one's talking about the Antifa terrorists armed with hatchets that took over a Red Lion Hotel in Olympia, Washington. I guess that's a regional chain. I don't think I've heard of Red Lion. But they occupied 17 rooms and demanded shelter for the homeless. It's not the way you go about it, morons. Here's what you do. If you've got enough gumption, people to take over a hotel with hatchets, well, you got enough people with the energy to build homeless shelters and build housing for the homeless or refurbish some abandoned buildings for homeless people. Did you ever think to do that? You know, that's what they do in Philadelphia. They sometimes refurbish old abandoned houses and give them to poor people, or come up with a some sort of government subsidy or whatever, so a family can have a nice home, or build a shelter. They need homeless shelters, obviously. What does taking over a hotel do? You destroy the hotel, number one, because who the hell wants to go to a hotel that's been occupied by homeless people? They stink, they're drug addicts, they're crazy half the time. That's not a place people want to stay as a hotel, okay? So putting the homeless people in the hotel ruins the hotel. Homeless people have a lot of problems, and you bring them into the hotel. The hotel is not designed to solve the problems of the homeless. It's designed to cater to tourists. And when you bring the homeless there, the tourist goes, I'm never coming here again. So imagine you're staying at a hotel, and you hear a bunch of commotion outside the room. You think to yourself, wow, sounds like a lot of noise out there. Well, I better get to my meeting. And then you get a call on the hotel phone, and you're like, well, that's weird. Was this my wake-up call? And you pick it up, and they say, listen, the police are here. The hotel's been taken over by Antifa, and they're requesting that you shelter in your room until they can get the situation under control. And that starts around 11 a.m. and you were supposed to go to a meeting, or maybe you got, some kind of deal going, or maybe you're just there on vacation, and then you spend all effing that day there until finally at nighttime they come out and get these idiots. And they fight, and there's a struggle, and they call them the most horrible names ever. I mean, what a nightmare. Loved the clean room. The continental breakfast was okay, but I especially didn't like being taken hostage by a bunch of radical communists. So, and no one's covering this. This is the Gateway Pundit. They're covering it. Eviction equals violence. They hung on the sign. Poor people in the hotel. I feel so bad for them. Approximately 40 rooms in the hotel were booked with guests who were bystanders in the incident. And Gateway Pundit isn't kidding around. Here's the Gateway Pundit. They covered it. And who else covered it? Well, GOP USA, The Sun in the UK, PJ Media, News LA, No Q Report, Right Edition, Published Reporter, Conservative Review, Daily Newsweek. I mean, pretty much no one of note, in the media world. You're not seeing ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, CNN, MSNBC, nowhere to be found. This is a major hostage situation. Like something like at least 40 people were trapped in their hotel by these maniacs who took it over with hatchets and knives. What happened to it bleeds it leads, CNN. Oh, well, no, we're not sure if we can cover Antifa yet. We're waiting for the government to say it's okay. I'm quite shocked that, they haven't said it's okay yet. I guess they're waiting because, give it a few more months for people to forget, and then they can somehow repackage Antifa as something else. again, it's pretty much what I said. As they've gone from being this massive mob of people, and each time they show up, they seem to get a little smaller, a little smaller, a little smaller. And as they get smaller, they get more hardened. These are the hardened veterans, the more extreme. As they go to jail and or die or just walk away, the guys who are left are more and more extreme. I mean, this is escalation. I mean, this is taking over a hotel with hatchets. And finally the cops are at least escalating. They seem to have arrested these morons. But to know the real deal, you got to go to Andy Ngo. Now, Andy Ngo's just been driven out of Portland by these maniacs. He's had so many death threats from them, he's finally decided to move. He moved to London, which ain't exactly Antifa free, but I guess the English Antifa don't really have it out for him as much as the Portland guys do. It's going to be interesting to see what he covers in that area from now on. He might stop covering it altogether because these guys are starting to die out. But apparently BLM is on the march in Rochester. Oh, here's another video. Let's they're trying to break apart the barricade around the Rochester police station. I don't know why the cops just don't move in and arrest these people for breaking the barricade. I mean, that's police property. Can't they arrest them for that? I don't know why they have to wait. But Andy covers everything Antifa. This is a guy who was arrested during some of the Antifa rioting. He was stabbed in an unrelated incident. So at least we don't have to worry about him anymore. Here's the Rochester BLM. Keep marching or whatever. This is an excerpt from Andy's book, and he's got some coverage of. Oh yeah, here's the coverage of the Red Lion. An Antifa group sieged a Red Lion hotel in Olympia, Washington, forcing the staff to flee for their lives, and guests in 40 rooms had to shelter in place. Antifa brought hatchets, knives, and other weapons to the siege. So it's pretty crazy. Yeah, so Andy's on a book tour, and it's just everywhere. Here's a BLM activist from Utah facing federal charges connected to the storming of the U.S. Capitol. He's accused of violating the terms of his release from jail. Yeah, and I'm not surprised because a lot of these guys keep getting let out, and they keep getting slaps on the wrist, but they are on probation. You see how they do that? Okay, we're going to give you a slap on the wrist, but you're on probation. They kept these guys on a short leash, essentially. And now that the election's over, they can pull them back in, throw them in jail. You don't have to worry about these guys for a while. That's what's going to happen. You're all going to jail. Biden doesn't care about you guys. Now, some of you are smart enough to know that, but a lot of you just aren't. A lot of the rank and file aren't. They're forced to organize like organized crime. You let the new guys do all the heavy lifting, let them take all the risk because they want in on your cool organization. In the case of organized crime, you make money. In the case of Antifa, it's some kind of woke prestige. And those who don't cut it, you cut them loose. Those who do, you keep giving them more and more stuff, and eventually they start to figure out the way things work, and they move up in the ranks, and then newer recruits come in. But when you're choked off from recruits, you have to rely on the veterans, and the veterans that stay are more and more extreme because this is about politics and woke points. It's not about money. But it will be soon because these guys will eventually realize that without sufficient funds, without various groups like the rumor is George Soros was funneling money to these morons. But without any kind of financing, they're going to say, well, maybe we should rob a liquor store or a bank or whatever. We'll get a bunch of money and then we can fund our wacky revolution and get guns and blah, blah, blah. That's exactly what the right-wing groups did in the late 80s and early 90s. They became criminal groups, and now they're a vicious criminal gang because most of them are in prison. That's exactly where these guys are headed. They're headed for prison. A long time, where they'll be hardened. Or they'll be let go and given professorships, like a lot of the Weather Underground people apparently have been given. It's just amazing. Just amazing how some of these people, you know, there was a woman who helped bomb the U.S. Capitol, actually set off a bomb with the intent of killing U.S. senators. And her and her compatriots were sentenced to 58 years in prison. They were caught with 600 pounds of explosives. 600 pounds. Went away for 58 years. Bill Clinton pardoned her. And now she's one of the leaders of BLM. She's 65 and she's still a radical. It's nuts. I don't know why Clinton would let her go. Is he that anxious to see people blown up in the U.S. Capitol? Or is it just part of the Democrats' plan to keep trouble brewing so they have a reason to come in and save you from it? I don't know. But I do know I'm going to be getting a copy of this Unmasked from Andy Ngo. Drops tomorrow here on Amazon. You got Kindle, audiobook, hardcover, audio CD. Not sure which one I'm going to do. I'll probably... I might go with the audiobook. I don't know. But drops tomorrow. So if you're into reading about Antifa and where it really comes from, this is the book to get. I mean, Andy knows his stuff. And Joan, you're very rude. Go to sleep. She peed all over the floor this morning. I walked right in it in my socks. She's just been a nightmare. This is what happens when doggies get cooped up in the house during the snow. Anyhow, on to the next video.